Welcome all of you to the Values for Life series. And as always, before we begin, we'll spend a minute in silence to invoke the presence of the Supreme Being. So welcome all of you to the Values for Life series, the episode 87 on inspiration. And we are so fortunate we have our two dear brothers who you all have met before as well. They had spoken on commitment last time. I remember it was in July last year. I was traveling myself. And thank you so much, both brothers, Brother Eric from Canada and Brother Eric Larson from New York. Welcome. Thank you so much. And the audience doesn't need a lot of introduction, but it's my duty to introduce again both of you very briefly. So we'll start with Brother Eric from Canada. He basically serves as the national coordinator for the entire region of Canada for the Brahma Kumaris, and he's into this Raj Yoga meditation since almost 35 to 40 years now. And professionally, though he's retired, but many people know about him that he started his career as a journalist for the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And finally, he settled down in Montreal, and he's instrumental for opening quite a few meditation centers in different parts of Canada, Edmonton, Calgary, to mention a few. And as we speak, we have with us also Brother Eric Larson, who is from New York, USA. He's a director of the BKs in USA, and additionally also the Brahma Kumaris representative to the United Nations, and also a member for the NGO committees on freedom of religion or belief. He's also on the board of directors of the Long Island Multi-Faith Forum in the Long Island, where we have our centers, the Harmony House in New York. And he has also been an experienced Raj Yoga meditation instructor. And by profession, he has retired as a civil engineer from a career in property loss prevention with General Electric and industrial risk insurance. So by profession, he's retired from there. And now let's come to the talk of today. So today they'll be inspiring us with the value as well, which is inspiration. And before I give it to them and also to Sister Claudia for welcoming them with flowers, so a few lines in the form of a poem. So today both the brothers shall share their wisdom on inspiration. That's because their alaukic life is full of spiritual perspiration. Their hard work indeed has no date of expiration rather, because their lives take in a U-turn because of the Supreme's mesmerization. Their life is indeed like a fragrant flower or flowers in a decoration. That's because they're always ever ready for the next preparation. Let me tell you on the ever ready aspect. I just emailed or WhatsApped them. I don't remember what it was. And they just said yes. So there you are. They are ever ready. No matter whoever it is, their behaviors show no alteration. And that's the true spirituality being shown in demonstration. And finally, their truly selfless nature sets an example for the future generation that all of us have to coexist in harmony and cooperation. So with these few lines, I would request Sister Claudia to welcome both. Over to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It is very nice to have both brothers talking to us today. It is a special time of Easter time. And then I think that we like to see what inspires you, because today those who are Christian background are thinking about Judas who betrayed Christ, and then then many times in our life we have some betrayals as well. Everybody has. And then Judas was a very good friend of Christ. So I would like to see both of you talking about inspiration. How do you get inspiration when you are betrayed for a good friend? So this is quite something that I'm looking for to hear from both of you, because you are both always so happy and so easygoing, but still Christ was easygoing too. And then still he got those. It's like today Christians are thinking like, they say actually it was because of betrayal of Judas that Christ became so famous. Otherwise, he would not be on the cross. So anyhow, I like to invite. I got two flowers. That means two brothers who are the same. So, and also because of the time, I like to offer you a bunny. So you can have a little bit chocolate with you. Okay. So thank you for being with us today. Thank you.
Right. So thank you, Sister Claudia. And Brother Eric from New York, sorry, you're muted. So you can just unmute yourself. Yeah. So before we go on to them, a few housekeeping instructions. The talk will go on for the next 55 minutes or maybe an hour as well. And you can click on the interpretation icon. There are quite a few languages this time, almost 7 to 8. Please click on that. And please start sending your questions to me related to the value of today inspiration. And over to both of you. Thank you.
So, Eric, it's our turn. Hello, greetings.
Greetings.
Greetings from Montreal. Hello, New York.
That's right. I'm kind of hoping from the introduction that we aren't betrayed and made famous in the next few minutes or whatever it might be. That didn't sound so inviting.
Well, let's just hope we don't end up on a cross, because I haven't prepared. I didn't prepare myself for that right now.
So, well, that would be my hope also. But it is the Easter weekend, and there is this sense of big things happening in different traditions and such. So what's happening with you? What are the big things that's going on in your life? And how are you seeing yourself being inspired these days?
Well, I'm glad I didn't prepare too much for our conversation, because I would never had planned to look at inspiration from the point of view of the one who has been betrayed.
There you go.
So this is a very interesting angle. Thank you, Claudia Ben, for taking us into this unusual twist about being inspired after being betrayed, which is much better than being expired after being betrayed. So I'm happy to, but so anyway, we'll have a chance to talk about it. Because indeed, I think I don't know about you, Eric, but for me, there's quite a few occasions I can recall, although we're asked to forget them, but I can, for the purpose of today's topic, I can recall a few occasions where there was indeed a form of betrayal. And some could have been really bitter, but I'm glad I had the right and great inspiration at the time. So I didn't end up expired, either in my job or in my heart, but remained inspired. And I can only say at the beginning, maybe, of our conversation that I do like this Easter time, actually. This is actually one of my favorite time in the year. And I've always mentioned to a lot of people that for me, probably still one of the best movie that I watched in my whole life is not a specific one, but it's all the movies around the life of Jesus. And I find that usually Easter time, I always watch, with the right consciousness, of course, but I always watch a film on Christianity. And I did watch actually recently, just finished last night actually, a series, docudrama and I like this new format on Netflix when they take historical passages, but they bring a lot of experts to give insight on what really happened. So this was about the life of Moses. And I kind of forgot about him a little bit. He's not on my agenda on a regular basis for special meetings or dinner or Passover. Maybe I thought maybe that would be a good time to have, dinner with him. But I was fascinated by even the life of Moses, which I forgot a little bit about. And I was trying to, and it is true that when we watch or read about the life of people like him or Jesus or many others, it is true that actually we may be trying to get some inspiration, and we may try to connect and see, is there anything in his life that I feel, inspired by, or that would make me feel like becoming Moses? Maybe not now.
Something? Did you
Yeah,
find something from his life that
well, yeah, I did like the idea that, the film was a film, right? Like you can hear God speaking to him, but he was talking to God. And in a way, I can see myself talking to God regularly as well, but it's not so dramatic as it seems to have been for him. And I haven't been asked yet to lead the whole, generation into the promised land, although everything.
Aren't you the national coordinator for Canada?
Let's go to the promised land.
Yeah, promised land.
But, with all respect to the Christian faith, because I think the beauty of Moses was that he's the only figure in the Christianity, not in Christianity, but he's the only figure in religious books, all religions together. He's the main figure that is very present on the three main religions of monotheist religion: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. So he's a very powerful figure in the three religions. And he's being betrayed. He was betrayed more than once with people who had no faith or whose faith was broken. So when he went to the Mount Sinai and he got this revelation from God, he had to write the 10 Commandments. But at that time, the word smartphone didn't exist. And what they meant by a tablet was maybe not the same as the tablet that we know today. So it took him a long, long time to write down 10 Commandments. It took him more than 40. Yeah, he had to do it like this. So it took him so long because, he was not typing. He was just carving in the stone. So it took him so long that they lost faith down the mountain and they thought he would never come back. So they created this golden lamb with all the gold they had to recreate a new god, a new idol that they could worship. So when he came down with his two, they were a little bit heavy tablets that he carved, took him a while to carry that. Don't put those things in your pockets anymore. Well, he saw that they were already starting to worship a golden lamb. So he got really upset and he broke the tablets. So they were not Samsung or iPhone, so it was not saved on the cloud. So he had to remember what was written. But anyway, just to say that even watching his life, to me, was inspiring in a sense of what is my relationship with God, and how do I feel that faith, that he had to have in his life. So I feel that many, many characters can inspire us, but during the Easter time, I always find that the life of Jesus for me is fascinating. And I remember being young and watching those films, black and white films. And in a way, I think I didn't realize, but I wanted to be like him. Except for the miracle thing, I thought it was going to be complicated. But I didn't want to open a new business, of miracles. It was already the course of miracles, and I thought somebody else would do it. But the life, of love, the compassion he had, the ability to forgive, his message of love was beautiful. And I realized that during my whole life, when I was young, I was a very strong Catholic. To me, he was the most inspiring figure that I could think of. And still today, when I watch these films on Jesus, I find out beautiful. What about you? Do you have any character except the bunny and the chocolate box that inspires you a lot?
Well, I'm just gonna float a little on your Moses movie and pictures, because if I understand right, they wandered for a while in the desert for 40 years. I think that's how long that was. And
But you know why, huh? You know why?
they didn't have Google Maps.
Well, the tablet he used it was not smart.
Yeah, I think we
No,
took a
but
wrong turn back
seriously,
there.
that I forgot that thing, but they wanted 40 years instead of 10 days. They should have taken 10 days to reach the promised land. But because they lost faith and they created that golden lamb, God punished them. That's the way they say it. So he let them take 40 years to figure it out, because they were not faithful and they give up on Moses.
Okay. Yep. I think it's just over the hill. Okay, you said that 30 years ago, Moses. But I'm entering my 40th year with the Brahma Kumaris. And so just kind of playing with that thought that after 40 years, he reached where he wanted to go. So I'm going to hold that wandering, searching of Moses as a kind of an analogy or such for myself, that in a year, I will be at my destination. And so I'm taking inspiration from that, both in two ways. One is, gosh, I got to do a lot of work pretty fast, catch up with some things. And the other is, just like Baba has said, that you will succeed. You will be there. And I find a lot of inspiration from kind of weird places. They're not weird, they're sweet. And the sense that any kind of a story where somebody uses their inner strength or can go beyond what's expected and succeed. There's basketball games going on now, so the underdogs who win are very inspiring. People who, you hear these stories about, I lost my dog, or this happened, and they kind of have happy resolutions in them, kind of not expected. I find those are very great. And I'm thinking now that those stories of trial, or in this case, I'm not sure if people get betrayed or whatever, but that sense that inside of us, we carry the story of challenge and, tests or obstacles or betrayals or whatever it is. But somewhere deep inside of us, in the soul, is that memory of success. And so those stories seem to resonate with me. And I don't know if I'm inspired by the actual events that take place, but that resonance probably is a good way of looking at it. There's something that is happening that brings out a feeling and an energy of, just wonderment. It's quite wonderful that, this is happening, and it brings out an energy that I can use also. I get inspired. That inspiration for me is a sense of, I've just been granted, almost like a wish, I've been granted an energy or enthusiasm or some sort of power, I guess from God or the universe or an individual, or from inside of me, from a store that I can't reach directly on my own. and I can use that then in however I want to, accomplish the next thing. So,
I think that actually this theme of inspiration is actually, I was thinking, it's quite a fundamental basis of this whole program, Values for Life. Because I was thinking about, what's the point of sharing again? People must be just getting so bored with us talking all the time. And then I thought, probably not, because we do turn on, we do switch on, I don't know how you say, we do tune in on certain talks, because I think what people are looking for is inspiration. And I wonder if we're looking more for information or inspiration. And I think there's an abundance of information, but when information becomes inspiration, I think that's where it becomes quite stimulating. And I was trying to imagine what would be a life without inspiration. We're never inspired. And it could be very boring. And then at the same time, there are things that are not allowing people to be inspired.
We'd be stuck. There wouldn't be a thought, there wouldn't be a desire, there wouldn't be the energy to kind of break out of the routine without inspiration. And I do totally agree that Baba has said, he's told us everything. We're not hearing new Murlis, and the sense that all the knowledge he has, he's given us. Okay. We might not fully understand all the knowledge, and so we need to listen to it and think about it. The knowledge is profound, so when we change, it will have a different effect on us. But it's not information that's, BKs and a lot of the world is looking for. It is the power to apply the knowledge and change lives, change their own life. And so I think that's very critical, that how is what I'm doing or saying affecting others? And am I transmitting something in what I do? Was it the point, Murli, somewhere along the line today or yesterday, that you should, from your face, be able to give an experience of God to others? I love that. I think that's just amazing. How many people look at us or me and think, oh my gosh, here's someone who's going to be crucified soon. Here's a deity, here's an angel, here's someone unique and special. But I believe that, that ties into inspiration also. Our actions, our words, is our demeanor such that others want more of it? Are they looking for what we have? And do I have enough that it is evident in me that something else is going on that is attractive?
I think we should answer Claudia's thought so that we can move into it, because I keep thinking about this word betrayal. And so let's get it out of our way. And, one thing I felt that when there is such a thing, and I can think of a few occasions where I felt that my friendship or my loyalty to someone, my love to someone, my engagement, professionally in a cause was not honored and was actually betrayed. And it is quite, it could be devastating, I think, in a way. But on the other hand, the good thing about the spiritual practice we're developing is understanding that if I feel offended, somehow it's my ego reacting. We know that. So if I feel offended, it's my ego who feels offended. And so if I feel betrayed, is also a part of me that feels betrayed. But maybe there's another part of me who will not feel betrayed. So where is that part of me who doesn't feel betrayed? And I would consider that feeling betrayed is a beautiful invitation to make effort to find that part of me which will not feel betrayed. Because that part of me which will not feel betrayed, I think, comes from a feeling of greatness, a feeling of faith, a feeling of great connection with God, where you really feel I'm going to trust what God thinks of me and not what the other one thinks of me. I will trust my purpose and my motivation in doing something that I thought was good, even if the other doesn't feel that way. And I think that without being betrayed or feeling being betrayed, we cannot develop a certain state or a certain level of forgiveness, compassion, empathy, and benevolence. I think there's certain qualities of these kind of virtues that only become greater than normal when they are used for something of that magnitude as the feeling of being betrayed. Let's say if I say to someone, you come at 3 o'clock and they come at 3:30, all right, I'm not betrayed. I feel, well, they didn't respect the timing. It's not too bad. But if somebody, plays in my back at work and does something behind me that has major consequences, that's another story. And I find that to me, to forgive someone for being late is a small forgiveness, but to forgive someone for defaming me in public or doing something that may change many people's opinion about me, well, that's a different magnitude of forgiveness. And I find that the few times in my life that I can think of where I did feel that it was very unfair and what the person did was basically, in French we say same in English, you're being stabbed in your back. Well, I felt, okay, well, this is the time to go on the cross and to let them, do their work, do what they have to do, and tell God, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. And I don't know if he really said that or it was mistranslated. He said, hey, God, please punish them for what they did. I don't know. Because Moses was told by God, don't worry, take all the Israelites there, and the Pharaoh, who is not going to believe you, I'm going to punish him badly. So depending if you talk to God on Google or on another format, may get different translation. So I feel that the betrayal is an ultimate act of sacrifice. And in religious scriptures, it's filled with betrayals. Even God betrays people in a way, and they betray him. So it's filled with this kind of dimension. And I believe that in a way, it really forces us to go to the unlimited and to the sacredness of those values, where they're really not conditional. If you really betray my name, my identity, my whole being, well, the level of forgiveness, compassion I would have to bring up is ultimate, is the most beautiful dimension. I believe it's the most beautiful dimension of forgiveness, compassion, love that I can extract from myself. It's the ultimate one. So I would say, yes, let's be betrayed so we can finally enjoy the cross of success.
Well, Baba has said that we should always say you first. So
yes.
Go ahead. Let me know how it works out.
Well, you're coming in your 40 years. I'm coming out of mine.
Okay.
And I can tell you that, it doesn't make much difference.
Not so far. Maybe you were at the end of Moses's trail and kind of got lost and took you a little longer. But I believe that the words that were spoken, the way I learned it anyway, I wasn't there that I know of. When Jesus was on the cross, he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And so that would be an understanding, and a great, from our point of view, a great spiritual power, to have the understanding of the situation, to know what is going on is causing a disbenefit for the self, but is also going to be the seed of something else taking place. And it's not quite the same, but I know that when one loses their job or has a difficulty, that is often a seed of something new, another change, and something that starts them in a path that they wouldn't have taken on their own. And I find that's a lot of what our whole journey throughout the cycle has been, the last half. Being betrayed regularly, and not so dramatically, but the fact that I think we carry around this sense of perfection and ways that people can behave, and we translate that and move it over into should behave, and they start not behaving in that way. And so we feel betrayed that they weren't honest, or they weren't loyal, or they weren't on time, or they weren't something. And that betrayal or that letting down is kind of an affront to our values.
Do you think we are feeling betrayed because we have expectations on the way other people should behave towards us?
Because that's a sanskar. Because we have, if you want, half a culture.
Like a habit, I mean.
Yeah, we have a habit of everybody behaving in the same way. Honest, peaceful, loving, soul conscious. And so we kind of glide in with that energy into other situations where others don't act that way. And actually, we don't have the power to hold on to that way of behavior also. And so one way of looking at it is we betray ourselves. I should be this way. I know I can be. This is the sanskar I've got, but why did I do that? Why did I all of a sudden, say this or do this, and we don't, those who haven't killed their conscience don't feel good about it. Okay. I'm assuming everybody has the experience of saying or doing something and immediately saying, oops, shouldn't have done that. That was wrong. I feel bad. I'm ashamed, whatever it's going to be. And that kind of conscious speaking.
So do you think Jesus felt betrayed, or did he just thought, maybe he was betrayed, but didn't feel it?
My understanding is he had the feelings. He knew it was coming.
Yeah, that was his advantage. He got a warning.
Okay,
we don't get warnings.
you try this experiment at home. Not now, but after we sign off, and everybody can do this. But you get a hammer, and you put your hand on a table, and put the hammer in the other hand, and you know that you're going to use that hammer and hit your hand. Okay.
That sounds terrible, Eric.
Okay, but it's not the same as being crucified. But you know it's coming because you're going to do it to yourself. And then you take the hammer and you hit your hand. Even though you know it's coming, it's going to hurt. So to answer your question,
I'm going to try that experiment at home for sure.
All right, you can use a banana instead of a hammer.
Okay, banana sounds better.
If you know it's coming, it still doesn't stop it from hurting. And I think Jesus, this is my opinion about it, I think he experienced that feeling, but I don't think that feeling dominated his actions or his outlook. Okay, I think he was saddened and disappointed, but because of who he was, he understood it, and he didn't let that. And actually, I'm going to transition into some of the behaviors I've seen the dadis in our lives. I think they've been disappointed in souls. I think they've seen scenes that don't bring happiness, but I also believe that they've felt that, but they didn't allow that feeling to dominate or to stay. And I think that's kind of what our goal would be, is to be in the world, to be inspired by certain things and to find other inspirations, even though what's happening around us and what's being presented to us and what's being offered us isn't the source of that.
Mm. You know, one day, a good friend of us, Denise, she's in France now, she told me, one day actually I went to her and I felt very humiliated by something that happened. And she said, you know, Eric, it's very good to be humiliated. That's very good, because that really helps you to become humble.
Lucky you.
And I thought, lucky me, yeah. And I thought, you know, that was more than 30 years ago. She told me that.
Okay.
And I always use that. You know, I always felt very, actually, that if I feel humiliated or if I feel betrayed, the part of me that feels betrayed or humiliated is not the part of me that I want to stay in, that I want to be. So there's nothing wrong with the other person doing, I mean, it's not that the other person, what it's doing is wrong, but it's for me to stay in that part of me that feel betrayed. That is wrong from my part to do that. And I like what you said about he may have suffered, he may have felt something, but he didn't stay there to make that as the foundation of his actions or his outlook. And I think we should say, you know, we're sharing this, you know, with, you know, entertainment, and we're good friends and with no pretension, of course, to be expert on Christianity. So with all respect to anyone who has this deep connection, you know, I have a very good tennis teacher, which I talk about a lot. He's very strong Catholic. And one day I wanted to make a joke, and it was involving Jesus. It was a nice joke, but it did involve Jesus. He was so offended. He said, Eric, don't ever joke about Jesus. And I felt, oh, sorry, I really, you know, sometimes we take things lightly and then we don't realize that they, you know, for people, they're attached. So we're mentioning about Passover, Moses and Jesus, but at the same time, I know we both have in our heart a deep respect and understanding of the role these souls are playing. But that's just to clarify in case somebody is thinking we're a little bit light about these amazing characters. And it's, I hope I pronounce well, it's Moses, not noses, right, that I'm talking about. So, okay, so it's good. So anyway, what are the other, so hopefully, Claudia, this helps you to enjoy being betrayed, and you will wish now to be betrayed more and more often. So if you want, we can organize that a little bit, but otherwise we'll leave you with the drama to take care of that. So let's go back to inspiration, Eric. And before, I mean, we can share a lot, but I was wondering from your side, how do you understand inspiration at the first place? Like, what is the difference between being inspired or, you know, being, I don't know, something else, motivated or enthusiastic? Or what is inspiration really about, which makes it different from zealous or enthusiastic, dynamic about something?
For me, the inspiration often is an answer that comes and brings an elevated energy. Okay, and you know, I'll ask you this, and you can think about it also.
Yeah, give me warning. Give me warning.
Yeah, I did a. We have Saturday morning bhakti here at Harmony House since COVID, from 3:30 until, you know, after Murley, usually around 8:39. So finish there, come over here, and we take turns from 6 to 7, a variety of presenters here, with a bhakti, okay, and try to create an experience. And I do that probably once a month. And I find it very fun because I kind of wait for the inspiration.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
For how many hours? Or
yeah, a month.
A month. Okay.
40 years. but it's that sense that, okay, I have a presentation. I have to, share something, but I want to share something that will create an experience. And oftentimes, it doesn't come immediately. Oh, here's the idea. But like today would have been, well, let me combine two elements. Okay. And when the idea comes, it's very inspiring. Oh, and then it gives me energy to do that. I took this weekend's also the International Bhatti, Saturday, Sunday. And so they've got some nice.
For those who don't know, it's a kind of intense meditation where you go deep into meditation, right?
Yeah. And so they had some videos and they have some, things like that. So share some of that. And also took some things from a retreat that I was at in Madhuban recently. And there were some songs there. And actually, while I was at that retreat, one of the traditions of the Brahma Kumaris is to share these little cards with inspirational phrases on them or blessings. And so I had a stack of those. Anything that I'm given and I touch automatically has great value. I have that power. Oh, here's something I don't know what to do with it because I can't throw it away. It was a gift and inspiration from God. So I had these blessing cards. And I thought, well, let me just snap photos of them and front and back, and we can just go into the experience of those inspirational words. And so combining those two elements, a few songs, something like that, an hour goes by, and it's quite fun to feel inspired because you see things new, you see things from a different angle, and that makes your experience of life kind of getting out of any ruts or routines or stuckness that you might have. And so the inspiration, I think, comes when we want to avail ourselves to something. When I have a question and I can hold that question and not think about it so much, but kind of put it off to the side, if that makes any sense, do other things, but know that it's there, then somehow the inspiration seems to me like the universe is giving me an insight and power to let it be seen in a new and fresh and beautiful way.
I'm giving time to the translator to breathe and to translate your last sentence.
It's like a long one. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm managing the tempo.
Was that fast?
I know what it is to translate, and when there's more than 20 words in a sentence, it's complicated.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not joking, but Eric, I understand what you're saying, and I like it, and I also feel I like this idea of, there's so many sources of inspiration, and I'm thinking, for example, in understanding what is inspiration, I'm thinking, why is sometimes an idea or a person not inspiring me, but uninspiring me or expiring me, maybe. Okay. But I was thinking of Brahma Baba, the founder, and he would see a snake, and he would see an inspiration in a snake. He would see a lice; it will inspire him something meaningful. And he used to say that every animal, everything can be an inspiration. But another person can see a snake and just feel the fear and not be very inspired by the snake at all. So you can just run away from the snake thinking, this is bad, this is dangerous. Or you look at the snake and say, this is very inspiring. So what makes things inspiring? Some people, you can watch, it's fascinating. Some people may watch one of the greatest human being living on the planet at the moment. He's called Roger Federer. He turns out to be a tennis hero. But if you are on the other side of the net and you're looking at the same person and you have to beat him to win the trophy, you may not look at him as being inspiring. So I'm fascinated by what makes people, insects, ideas, objects. This glass of water can inspire me something or not. And so what makes us inspire is fascinating at the first place.
Yeah.
And I think some people have a nature to allow themselves to be inspired, and others have a little bit too much interferences that don't allow them to get inspiration from, don't you think?
Yes. And so therefore the mindset to be able to use what comes in front of you could be a habit, could be a practice, could be a disposition, and could be the desire, conscious or unconscious, to want to experience something else. I know that when you mentioned the founder of the Brahma Kumaris, the first teacher, Brahma Baba, because he was always thinking about something and wanting to kind of get deeper into understanding and such, he had kind of a mindset that he saw everything as inspirational. He had the ability to change an ordinary object as it presented himself. And I guess it's a flexibility of the mind to see it in another way. And so when we are able to have that consciousness of how do I look at the world around me and what can I see? I'm thinking I sit in front of a window here, looking out here, and it's kind of a clear day now.
Window, Microsoft Windows.
No, window glass.
Okay.
But it's interesting for some reason when it's cloudy, these big white puffy clouds, haven't laid on the grass and looked up, but I see faces.
Oh.
Well, there's someone, they're looking at there. And so it's, nobody else probably sees the same thing I do. And I probably couldn't explain what it is that I see to someone. I probably could. We'll try this sometime. I have to talk to you about the eclipse also. Never mind.
Oh, yes, that's true. It's a powerful.
But I think it's a mindset that allows us to see and be inspired. And I think it's possible that individuals have a hard time being inspired because that's just, not in their nature to think that way.
Mm. I think that also, for me, inspiration is connected to, I don't know if it's the right one in English, but it'll be aspiration.
Okay.
What I really aspire to will allow me to be inspired. And I think that if aspiration is ego-based, if my aspirations are about pumping up my ego, then my attitude, which you call your mindset, will be one of comparing, competing, and complaining, which we call the big three cancer C's, the cancer C's. So, because that's, when I see from my ego perspective, then I compare very quickly instead of admiring, praising, or being inspired and looking without comparing. A compare less attitude is actually a very ego-less attitude. So I find that the aspiration, if my aspiration is driven by my ego, the way the mindset you call, I think, would be about I compare instead of admiring, I compete instead of cooperating, and I complain instead of praising. And I think to me, these are very big obstacles in being inspired. I find that if my aspiration is not driven by ego, then I look at things differently. And I find that the beauty of what we are taught, at the moment is it may not be the promised land, like in the case of Moses that I'm thinking of, but I'm thinking more on a metaphorical level. It's not physically I have to go somewhere, because Canada is the promised land anyway. So where else should I go? I'm not going to move south. I'm not going to go to New York. This is the old one. So we are in the promised land here. So I'm not going anywhere physically. but mentally, I have to move forward somewhere. So what is my aspiration for the future? I like to be an aspiration which is guided by God, the same case as Moses or Jesus. And I find that if my aspiration is noble, sacred, divine, that aspiration refines my inspirations, because they will be inspirations to make me move forward, which I find different from an inspiration I get when I want to play tennis better. It's still inspiration, but it's a lot slightly different.
I'm going to add another C as you were talking to that list. That's closed. I think when we think we know things, and arrogance might be a part of that, and we are not open. It's, I know things, that inspiration doesn't come. There's kind of some sort of a blockage from seeing something new and feeling. Because if you know everything, and if you're closed to other points of view or other ways of seeing, you're not going to see it differently. And so there might be that ego, there might be a variety of mindsets that limits our ability to be inspired. And so freeing ourselves from that, I guess, would be a task. If you want to have that energy to see the world differently. And maybe, somehow some knowledge or an idea can sneak in that would allow to, change that. But being closed by having that arrogance and ego and knowledge, and you can't tell me anything, that seems to me right now to be a block for having that power of inspiration.
I think it's interesting when we understand, and for me, when I was questioning, am I using inspiration as a virtue? Because this is sometimes interesting to use those words, as a virtue, inspiration, or in being inspired. Is it a virtue? And I was thinking that if I use, the thing with values is we don't practice, we don't use them. And I was sometimes
pointing to me.
Huh? I mean, that's
pointing to me.
No, I'm pointing to me. I'm next to you on the screen. Pointing to me. So I'm talking to myself also. We're two Erics, so. But sometimes we're told we know the value or the virtue, but we're not using it. And like in the case you're being defamed, we would say, well, remember how Brahma, the founder, was defamed so much, and yet he changed, or how Jesus was defamed and how he behaved. That's what you said, like he didn't use that mindset to act wrongly, even though he was defamed. So for me, it's like, am I using inspirations to move forward? Because the power of being inspired is, I think, that it gives us a driving force that allows us to do something, to move forward. And for me, one of the most inspiring person I've met, which I know is the same for you, is our very, very dear Daddy Prakashmani. We didn't meet Brahma, the founder of the BKs, but we met Daddy Prakashmani. And at the time when you came also in the 80s, she was the one in front, she was our big leader. And lately, I've been using her a lot. I decided that, I was not moving fast enough. So I've been actually using her a lot. And it came almost like a joke. Actually, it came when I was playing tennis, which is true. Yeah, I was playing tennis and I was not doing very well on that day. I remember I was tired and I was not doing well. So I jokingly,
how would you hit this return?
Jokingly, actually, I told Brahma, which is usually the one I call upon when I'm in trouble to help. So I told Brahma, why don't you try to hit the next points? And so the next 5 points, I lost the 5 points. And I told Brahma, you're really bad. You're not good in tennis. So sorry, go back on the bench. I don't think you're good. This is not your thing. It's okay, fine. But I remembered for strange reason, Daddy Prakashmani. Honestly, I mean, it was a game, mind game. And I told Daddy in my head, how about you? Are you good in tennis? And I jokingly imagined Daddy telling her, okay, try to do the next 5 points. And honestly, I won the next 5 points. And I told Daddy, wow, you're really good. And I've been playing with this idea a few times. But the point for me was it suddenly created an idea that maybe when things go wrong, if I remember her smile, her attitude, her love, doesn't really help me to be better. And I find out lately that it does. And when for example, I'm invited to share, before sharing, sometimes I just imagine she's next to me and I look at her and I remember how she used to bring lightness, but depth, entertainment, and yet at the same time, strictness. And I realized that, yes, I should use more inspirations practically. And we praise so much great souls like Jesus or Brahma or Daddy Prakashmani. But beyond praising them, I was thinking, am I just a worshiper praising? Or am I a practitioner using the inspiration to practically transform my attitude? And I find inspiration is a virtue when it's being used to go beyond my ego and accept someone else's speciality to become my speciality. And in that way, I think we're allowed to steal each other's specialities legally.
Very good. Is she there with you now?
Yes, she's giving you drishti. She's sitting next to me.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing some sort of a golden calf behind you, but I'm
here. Actually, by the way, she's always here. She's the one in the middle.
There you go.
She's the one in the middle.
3 inspirations.
That's Daddy Prakashmani. She's inspired me. This one always warns me and warns me. She cautions me. And this one takes me beyond inspiration or caution. She just takes me into another world. But yeah, Daddy Prakashmani is the one. Oh, she's always behind me.
There you go. Okay. That's excellent.
Hey, can you believe we've been talking for almost an hour? I thought after 15 minutes, we'll be talking about tennis and what's happening in the world.
You did get your forehand in there a little.
I think you inspire me, Eric. I really think you actually inspire me now very much. Okay. That's why we're still talking after an hour.
Well, I have another question for your inspiration. It was shown to us at the beginning, and you are often involved on Saturday nights talking about the same thing that I notice. And I'm just wondering if it's inspiring to you and which one might be more. Is it flowers that might bring an inspirational energy, or would it be like a chocolate bunny tole for you that you would prefer to think about and have great qualities emerge?
It's true. I mean, tonight we're Saturday, so I don't know, for those who listen in 200 years from now, I mean, we're in 2024, and tonight is going to be Saturday my time. So I'll have a little chit chat with our very dear Sister Mohini in New York. And I do find them actually very inspiring. Okay. Because the flowers and the chocolate are usually the beginning and the end.
Okay. Now here's my inspiration for you. Okay, as you talk, I'm trying to think. I want you to take your camera out to the jasmine tree, the plant. Okay.
But it's behind the wall. I have to go. The camera wouldn't reach. It's behind this wall. It's actually right behind this poster.
Okay. That's your problem, okay? I'm telling you my inspiration. And I also want you right next to that to have a chocolate tole tree, okay? And you can probably do this with your phone. you can walk around with your phone. So tonight you can have that inspiration. Here's the whole plant, and here's where I get my chocolate totally with these Easter bunnies hanging on them. So
All
I'm
right.
looking forward. You've got hours to do this.
I will work on it during the day and see if that inspiration becomes a reality.
I release that thought.
All right. Okay. You know, on a scientific level, for me, my greatest inspirations come often from when I'm in the shower. And I've read, I thought I was strange. And a few years ago, I read an article, and it was a scientific article saying why people get the greatest ideas in a shower.
What they say.
And Manoj Bhai, as a doctor, Manoj Bhai, you should do some research on it. But I read in an article that the shower, the water, when it comes on your head, actually does stimulate part of your brain that trickles some things that for some people who are sensitive actually create a state of mind that is very, very open to inspiration. And whenever I have to share, I always talk to people. They say, "Oh, you have to give a lecture." I say, "Yeah, but first I have to go and get a shower."
Get a shower.
I say,
Yeah.
"Why?" And they say, "Why?" Well, because I have to prepare, you know. And they say, "What?" And so usually in a shower, I'm always waiting for one line that will come, you know, and usually it's that one line that helps me to go through a whole sharing. So I think inspiration is very, very powerful. But maybe Manoj Bhai, we have either uninspired or expired or inspired people having some question for the double Eric.
So
On the contrary, the number of participants have been increasing. So don't worry, it's not expired at all. It's very inspiring. Okay, thank you so much. I'll just take a few questions. The first question is actually, I was wanting to ask you, but you already asked the difference between inspiration and motivation. So we know that. So one of the questions is at workplace, people don't appreciate me, the brother is saying, and neither do they inspire me. And I feel very left out and uncared for. So how do I self-inspire myself? Is there any method?
a little kind of further question. What would the inspiration be used for? Would it be used for his work, for his relationship, to try something new? If he got inspired, what would he do with the energy? You don't know the answer to that probably, though.
Yeah, because that question was just for the workplace, I think. But you're right. We should have to dissect out what inspiration he needs for. Yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, if you are in a situation and it's not inspiring, you can't look outside. You might have to look and create something inside, and use that energy maybe just to be happy.
But you know, if I heard the question properly, because I translate in French in my little head, he said he's not appreciated at work, and he himself is not inspired. Well, I think if we reverse the dynamic, it would be much better. Don't expect to be appreciated, but start to find a way to be inspired. And I think if you are inspired, other people will start to appreciate you much better. And my personal view on that is, I've always said that to me, my spiritual life and my professional life have been braiding themselves together. But at the end, the last few years of my work, there was no difference. I was not going to work. I was going to serve. I was not going to the office. I was going, you know, to a place where any meeting will be either on a spiritual level or on a worldly level about the same. So yeah, what the purpose is one thing, but if the purpose has some spiritual value in it, the inspiration I should look for in other people at work is how they can make me a better person. Everyone is inspiring. If we're not inspired by people around us, is that we're only listening to one side of their stories. We're not listening to the right stories. So we are reading people from a very limited glance or lens, I would say. But ask questions to the person, find out more about the people around you. Everyone has incredible stories to tell. So if we start to be inspired by people, one, it's a sign that I'm functioning properly. Everyone is inspiring. And if I'm not inspired by someone, there is a blockage in me. I'm not connecting with the soul. I'm not connecting with the living being inside of the worker. I'm just seeing my work companion or my boss or my employee or my whatever. So going beyond that, being inspired by people allow me to have such an attitude that people will appreciate me, no doubt. And being inspired by people is seeing the beauty in each one. My personal attitude at work, I was coordinating teams at work for a long time, was to make sure I will always tell people, you know, what you're doing is so great. You as an individual can make a difference. I will find some ways to tell people how amazing they are. I have I talked about Denise earlier. Her brother, Anthony, is a fascinating person. He was consultant and to me was always vague. What are you doing really? You work with these big companies, you make money. What do you do exactly? And he said, I do nothing. Very slowly. That was his mantra. And I like that. But I said, you must do something. He says, Eric, I walk in those big board of directors. I walk into these big companies and big meetings. And my work is only to tell everyone how amazing they are, how they're doing incredible things. They pay me a lot and that's it. That's all I do. And I thought, wow, this is a good job, And he was serious, saying, if you uplift people, they will like you. And uplifting people, you have to be inspired. You have to see something great in them. You cannot inspire someone if you see only their defects. But if you see something great in them, you will inspire them. So I'm inspired and I will inspire other people so they will appreciate me. But that was my dynamic at work, make people happy, win their hearts. I always felt our only purpose in life is to win everyone's heart. Everyone should be happy with me. Or if they crucify me, well, then that's okay too.
Okay, that's a wonderful answer. There are two enemies of inspiration. The person is saying the first enemy is carelessness and the other one is laziness. So how do we take care of these two enemies?
You want to pick one of the two, Eric, or the two of them?
Well, they're probably related to each other.
Yeah, they're related. Like the two
Carelessness
Erics. Right?
and laziness. Okay. In regards to inspiration, for me, I would, think what is happening and what do I want? And the answer is typically, do I like what's happening? Well, then I don't have to do much. I can continue what I'm doing. But if I am not happy with that, if I want something else, and I can, envision that, start to have that awareness that I can see something, that inspirational energy might help me. And one of the issues about the laziness is I know what that's like, because sometimes we get lazy because what we see in front of us is very, very big. It's a big task. And we can make things big in our mind too. And so little steps, doing something, and doing, just, every morning I get up early. And sometimes I don't always feel like, gosh, let me just jump out. Sometimes I feel, well, I got to push the covers over, and then I've got to put my right foot over the bed, and then I've got to put my left foot out, and then I've got to find the floor, and I have to stand up, and I have to walk across the room, and sometimes I make it very heavy and hard on myself. But if I would say, okay, well, let me just move the covers, hey, I did that, and recognize that that's a little success, as immaterial as it might be, that is going to feed an energy of change. And then I can start to be inspiring in my own self. Look what I've accomplished. Look what I've done. Look what I can do. And therefore, I can do some more. Because a lot of carelessness and laziness comes from not doing anything. And there's an inertia. So we have to act. Something has to happen. And in our minds, if we can hold what we want, that carrot can be sufficient sometimes.
I agree with you. And I would just add that I don't know if carelessness and laziness are the two main enemies. I would see it more as carelessness being a cause of extinguishing inspiration, and laziness as being a consequence of not being inspired. And I would say that if we're careful to pay attention, it's easier to be inspired. If I'm careless, easier to be non-inspired. But laziness comes as a consequence. If I'm inspired, I'm not lazy. But it's not laziness causing lack of inspiration. I would say it the other way. It's lack of inspiration making me lazy.
Right. So there's a lengthy question. I'll read it out for you. It's about, is there a way of inspiring the younger generation to topics like God, and not to confuse them about God? Because nowadays it's mentioned that exposing them to bhakti or false beliefs of religion, they get confused. So how do we impart knowledge to them with stories rather than just giving them stories about bhakti or religion? So how to inspire the younger generation towards knowing their identity and God, which means giving them knowledge?
Well, I had a great fortune to be invited to host a youth retreat in Australia. And to me, it was probably one of my biggest highlights of my spiritual life, because, and I think it came from the fact that I didn't go there I may have started as I'm not a youth person anymore, but their charm and their enthusiasm, their sparkle brought me back to my youth. And I think the fact that, and maybe it's my perception, but I just felt that by not coming to them as an older person or as a senior or as someone who has more experience, changed the dynamic. And I really felt that being with younger people, if I be myself in my younger me, it creates such a nice conversation, much more inspiring than, nothing wrong. Young people like seniors also sometimes who have a senior attitude. But to me, I think I was more feeling like back in my youth. And I was telling them jokingly during the whole time of the retreat, I didn't want to watch myself in the mirror for 3 days, just so I can float on the idea that I was back in my 20s. So I enjoy that. But I think that Brahma Baba was also like that when he was with a younger person, he would, connect with them on that level. So it doesn't answer clearly the question, but it's laid a ground for Eric to complete the answer.
Part two.
We're doing a nice duet here.
The thought that comes about youth is, I think they're generally curious and want to experience things. And I don't think they want to be lectured at. Okay, little kids are different than youth because they're starting to get a sense of identity, and it's a little fragile. And so, saying I've got information and I know it's right and I'm going to tell you is a little harsh oftentimes. But the ability to have that sense of you have attained something through what you know. So are you happy? Are you pleasant? Are you fun? Are you something that they would want to also have? And if you get that from your spiritual practice, they would be more open to it. If you are not happy, if you are grumpy, if you are frustrated with them, how come they're not listening? How come they're not learning? If you get angry with them, that type of communication and what you're saying is not going to be heard. And it is not going to be followed either. I find that if we're inspired, if we get something from what we believe and what we're doing, that should be communicated, and that should somehow have an attraction for them to learn more about.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm afraid the time is up, but I'll take one quick question, and it's a rapid fire thing for both of you. What inspired you to come into Brahma Kumaris, both of you?
For me, it was a whale. And you, Eric?
A whale, all right?
Yeah.
You were in the belly of the whale?
No, it was a beautiful whale that I met in the St. Lawrence River. And when I had this eye contact with the whale, it triggered something.
Okay, this opens up a lot of questions, Eric.
Yeah. So, no, but it's true. When I saw that beauty in nature, I wanted to become, pure and like beautiful like that nature. And I think the inspiration was I want to be so much better than what I was at the time. And when I saw when I heard the teachings of the Brahma Kumaris, and honestly, when I saw Dadi Prakashmani, because she came to Montreal after I was I was finishing the course after a few months, she came to Montreal. And honestly, when I saw her was for me, that's what I want. If there was a male version of that, that's what I would like to download, please. So even a female version, I would have taken it. But when I saw Dadi Prakashmani, I felt, yeah, this is the life I want.
For me, it was an understanding. It was knowledge, and it's I hadn't heard before, and it changed my perspective, kind of flipped it around, and just resonated with me that I'm a spiritual being. I had been taught, I had a Christian upbringing, also Catholic, that I had something that I was responsible for. It was called the soul. And the Brahma Kumaris gave a different reinterpretation. And that was that I don't have a soul, but I am the soul. I am that spiritual being. And that filled me with great inspiration to discover some more and find out what it is that, what else I might find. And that thought, that awareness brought a great feeling. And it still does. Still amazing to recognize how I can see myself in a beneficial way and be able to take power to apply that in my life.
So amazing answers, from as big as a whale to as tiny and subtle as the soul. So that's great. So both these inspirations got you into. So now we have our seniors with us, patiently waiting. So I'll request Dr. Ashok Mehta to please propose the vote of thanks. Over to you. Followed by Sister Claudia.
It was a pleasure to listen to both Eric brothers. As a matter of fact, I joined much later, almost 10 minutes before, but I enjoyed those last 10 minutes. I think they gave an insight into their life in terms of why they came to be kids. And more than that, I think I made a few notes. So look at the inspiration of Radhi Prakashmani. I think she has been inspiring a large number of people, both in Yagya and in our real life. I also was impressed. I was quite fascinated by her. My first meeting with her, I still recollect. I was going to operate on Radhi Gulzar on that day, and Dadi was already in the operating room, and I was seeing my patient in the clinic. And she was at the back. I was looking at some X-rays, and when I turned around, I saw Dadi Prakashmani with white hair and very smiling face. And nobody introduced. She had come alone, and she said that you are going to operate someone, and I've come to see her. So I jokingly told her, why did you have to travel such a long distance? She said, I have come from Mount Abu and I'm going to return tonight. So, the answer she said was very beautiful. She said, she is my Sakhi, my close friend. And that's why I have come. And she never had an air that she was a chief of Brahma Kumaris. I didn't even know Brahma Kumaris, and I didn't know her at all. But that's the way she was, smiling and very gentle with everyone. I think that inspiration of Dadi Prakashmani, but Eric Bhai said, I agree with him that I think she was a great inspiration to many people. I also liked one of the answers which she had given. She was asked when she went to United Nations. Somebody, one of the reporters asked her, how many followers do you have? To assess with her what was the size of the organization. And her answer was very beautiful. I don't have any followers. They're all leaders. I think that's, again, very inspiring that each one of us has a quality of leadership or quality of inspiring everyone. I think this is one thing which I liked. And I think Eric Bhai said something very interesting. Everyone around you is inspiring. I mean, that's the beauty lies in the beholder's eyes. You should be able to see that each individual, Baba says that each soul has its own qualities. And I think we should get inspiration from whoever the people we work with. I think that's one of the beautiful ways of looking at life, that everyone whom we meet, he has, Baba, in Hindi they say, sabse gun uthao. Look at the positive side the person possesses. Everyone has some qualities which are different than ours, and we should be able to pick up something very nice. I think that was beautiful. In any organization, if we look at the weaker side, probably we pick up we ourselves become weak. I think that's the way to look at as inspiring. And again, enemies of the inspiration, the carelessness and laziness. Do I like what is happening? I think energy of change is what is recommended. I think that's very important. That if you don't have a lack of inspiration, then you become lazy. So laziness is a result of lack of inspiration. I think that is a beautiful one. I think everything that the dialogue was more inspiring rather than anything else. And thank both Eric brothers, both from Canada and New York, for their beautiful interaction. Thank you very much, Brother Eric.
Thank you,
The
Dr.
French-
Mehta. Lovely
the
to
French
meet you.
and American Eric.
Yes, double Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes,
Dr.
thank you very much, both Eric. You went through my question about betrayal to the inspiration of how to not be careless or laziness or anything like that. It was so wonderful to see all the different angles in life. And of course, like Eric said, when he's having shower, he had inspiration. I have something like that too, and I was thinking that is craziness for me, why when I'm having shower, I have inspiration. So today I feel I'm not alone in that. I thought I was a little crazy and I did not know was actually scientifically proved about that. So thank you very much. It was kind of a very good inspiration to hear both of you and then also be able to here again, go back to the video, see all the details, and then be inspired by both of you. So I have two bunnies here, so you can inspire to get bunnies and then
Right. Very nice.
and
It
read
looks
the
like Eric.
chat.
They do look like Eric and Eric, I have to admit. We usually
then-
match our bow ties or
And they're the same, but they have different colors, see? Because one is in Montreal and the other one is in New York.
all
Thank
right.
you very much for both of you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Always pleasure to be with you all.
Yeah, and really want to thank also, and I know you will do it, but to really thank all the translators. And because we speak, but they also speak, and they're also inspiring. They're not just translating, but many are listening to their voice. So big thank you for the translators.
So thank you so much. And someone in the chat box has mentioned Sister Hilal from Turkey, but right now she's in Boston as we speak. She has mentioned that the shower inspiration is there from Archimedes as well. You know, Archimedes, the scientist who discovered the Pythagoras theorem. He also had the same while he was having a shower. So it's a very scientific thing. Thank you for highlighting that. So over to Sister Anu.
He was having a tub bath. When he sat on the tub and he displaced the water.
Okay,
Yes.
some final thoughts to think about and be inspired with is I've gone to India a few times, and there's these objects called Shivalingams. And it seems to me that they have bad plumbing, but he's in a shower all the time too. Drip, drip, drip. So he's always inspiring and
So he's so
giving good
inspiring.
vibes.
Wonderful. So over to Sister Anu for the quick announcements, the photograph as well. Yeah, thank you. And the meditation after that.
Yeah, so beautiful. What can I say? It's such a warm conversation and such deep insight actually about inspiration. So I'll quickly announce, thank you everyone, both brothers and brother Dr. Mehta and Sister Claudia, bringing a lot of insight actually. The very next program we have is the Silence Retreat on Inspiration just after 12 hours, as you can see tonight at 8 p.m. for West Coast, US, Canada, and Sunday, 31st morning, 8:30 a.m. for India time. And so this is a time in silence we can really churn and absorb the insights we got about inspiration today. And wanted to mention that this is based on Brahma Kumaris teachings. So this message is for those who may be new to Brahma Kumaris, and you may find it different or new, but you are welcome to join and experience if you like. And we have the workshop after 1 week. Again, inspiration, we really churn deeply into the values so that we can honestly carry it in our behavior and personality. So after 1 week on 6th of April, we'll have experiential exercises the first hour, and the second hour will be again a conversation between our two beautiful senior sisters, Sister Geeta from Brahma Kumaris, Los Angeles, and Sister Anjani from Brahma Kumaris, New York. So join us then, same time, 7 a.m. for West Coast, US, Canada, 7:30 p.m. India time. And our next session of Values for Life series is episode 87 on empathy or sympathy. In Hindi, it's Sahanubhuti. And we'll see Sister Moira from Brahma Kumaris, Argentina. She's the center coordinator there. Will take us through this value. So join us on 13th of April, 7 a.m. West Coast, US, Canada, 7:30 p.m. India time. And you will get more information about all the programs on our websites, vihasa.in and vancouver.brahmakumaris.ca. All the videos are on our YouTube channels, as well as the playlists, as you can see here. Also for the workshops, we have playlists. So it's important to go back to churn, as that really benefits personally for me. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, both Brother Eric. Over to you, Manish.
Yeah. So are you taking a quick photograph as well? since it's a reminder, many people want to be clicked and be seen with you all in the photograph as well. So we'll do a digital one, a soft one. And in the meantime,
So everybody can open your video. I know this is, everybody waits for it, and with both the brothers. I got the book. Thank you.
thank you. So we'll go in the meditation with both of you, either silence or drishti or some commentary, whatever suits your.
Maybe one brother can do commentary, one brother can give drishti. So we get both drishti, or I don't know how you would like to, but maybe few words of commentary would be great.
Okay, I'll give the drishti, Eric.
Sometimes you just need to visualize a flower in front of you, to look for inspirations in beauty. And if I go within and look at my own inner world, I can see a lot of beauty, as if I was a living flower. The fragrance of my life, the colors of my actions. How do I see myself as a living flower, bringing beauty in the world? And I know that I can see also the defects, but I make it a conscious choice to see what is beautiful, what is inspiring. Knowing that how I want to be will determine how I decide to see. So everyone I meet, I will look for beauty. I will look for fragrance. And I will see greatness in others. And when I look at myself, I will see what is beautiful in the self. So together, when I see myself and all those around me, I can see a beautiful garden. I can see how each one brings beauty to the world. Om Shanti.
Shanti, thank you so much, both of you, for your sharings. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely day. Om Shanti. Goodbye.
Stay inspired.
No, it's expired.
Yeah. If one is not inspired, are they outspired?
We are all inspired. We are taking inspiration.
Inspired.
Inspired, yes. Bye now. See you again soon.